Welcome to Showdown. I'm Mark Kaysen, and it is Friday, July 19th. So we're on our way to the weekend, and we've got all kinds of great things from yesterday. Hopefully you had a chance to watch Donald Trump. He had many interesting things to say. All of them, of course, were lies. Why does he do that? I don't know. I guess he doesn't know any better. Let's see. What did Donald say yesterday? There were so many interesting things. I don't even remember them all, but I do have them written down. Oh, I know. First of all, here's how he makes policy. I love this. Instead of spending millions of dollars on experts, Donald said he just went to a waitress. And the waitress said that she shouldn't have to pay any tips on any taxes on her tips. So Donald says he saved millions of dollars simply by going to the waitress and getting this valuable information. I thought that was brilliant. Oh, here's a good one. All the countries around the world, or certainly, let's be accurate, South America, Central America, when they send the people over here from MS-13, Donald says they will no longer receive any economic aid ever unless they take back the MS-13 people. Brilliant. Well, you can't really complain too much about this one. Hannibal Lecter. What's that about? Why does he keep going back to Hannibal Lecter? I mean, really, let's think about it here for a minute. What is there that has this guy completely focused on Hannibal Lecter at all of his presentations? And last night, of course, this guy is accepting the nomination from the Republican Party to be president of the United States, and he's back on Hannibal Lecter. Why? What does that have to do with anything? Okay, just checking. Oh, this is a good one. I'm so thrilled that Donald has decided he's going to do this. Of course, he was president for 4 years, I guess. They say he was. Apparently, he won the Electoral College and he moved into the White House. He inhabited the Oval Office. But only now has he decided that he wants to cure cancer and Alzheimer's, which he will do the moment he gets into the White House. I think there are probably some university researchers that want to get in touch with him, because that's pretty good to be able to come in to the White House and just simply pronounce that Alzheimer's and cancer have both been cured. That's good. Let's see. Well, let's try it over on this side. This is all good stuff. No, I guess, okay. I guess that's about it for now. Oh, no, no, no. I'm sorry. Oh, no. Forgot all this. Never mind. Okay. So, Donald's going to end devastating inflation. Now, you know that along with this inflation story, he has gone into this entire explanation about mortgage rates. And he said that mortgage rates had quadrupled since Joe Biden took over the White House. Well, we know the interest rates did go up. Of course they did. The Federal Reserve pushed up interest rates in order to pull down inflation, which I understand Donald wants to blame Joe Biden for the inflation. But in the meantime, quadrupled. Okay. It's possible that Donald doesn't know the meaning of the word quadrupled. I don't know, maybe somebody at the end of all of this explained to him that quadrupled means 4 times. Quad, 4. So he says it quadrupled. Well, actually, the lowest that mortgage rates ever hit were 2.65%. And the highest that they hit was 7.9% briefly, which of course they've pulled back from now, back towards 7%. So let's say for the extreme, the absolute extreme would be 2.9 times, almost 3, definitely not 4. On the other hand, if we talk about where those interest rates were on mortgages, for most people in the country, for most of the time, they were at 3%. And they did get to roughly, let's say 7.5, because that's not where they are. They're back down towards 7, but let's say 7.5. So from 3 to 7.5, slightly more than 2 times, slightly more. So we're talking about doubled instead of quadrupled. But, you know, in the world of Donald Trump, doesn't matter one bit. And by the way, when he walked in and started talking, he did talk a little bit about his ear operation, but what he really wanted to get into, and he really focused on, was drill, baby, drill. And the thing about drill, baby, drill, as he pointed out, is that Joe Biden is buying energy from other countries in the world, and he has devastated our output of oil since taking over the White House. And both of those points are absolutely false. Not true. Not even close to true. Not even remotely true. Just 100% a lie. I mean, this is a lie. I'm going to give him credit on the mortgage thing and say he doesn't know what quadrupled means. So he doesn't know the difference between doubled and quadrupled. He doesn't understand the difference between 2 times and 4 times. I'll give him that. So on that one, we're just going to say he's stupid. So we'll leave that one there. But here's the problem. He knows that Joe Biden is not buying oil from anybody because, in fact, the United States oil industry is selling oil all over the world because, on one hand, we're the biggest producer of oil on the planet. Biggest, number one. The United States produces more oil than any other country in the world, and we did prove that here on Showdown. We put the slide up, which is it included information from the United States government that showed that not only do we produce more oil than anybody else in the world, but that the amount of oil that we produce has been rising consistently to new all-time highs throughout the Biden administration. So again, this is a flat-out lie. It's a lie. And he knows it's a lie because Donald knows that the United States government is not buying oil from anywhere in the world. We produce more than anyone in the world, and we produce more than the United States has ever produced in the entire history of this country. So actually, when it comes to drill, baby, drill, I guess that's Joe Biden who has been drilling. Now, I understand he'd like to stop it. I think we'd all like to stop it. The entire planet would like to stop it. But we can go to bed at night and have dreams. But the reality is, we are drilling. And we're producing more oil than we ever have in the history of our country and more than any other country in the world. More than Iran, more than Saudi Arabia, more than anybody. We produce an enormous amount of oil. Okay, I get it. Donald likes to lie. Okay, then he says that he has been extremely effective in the past as a president by lowering taxes in order to raise the amount of money that comes into the United States government's coffers. But here's the problem. It is a theory that has been out there for years. There's only one problem. It's never worked. So, Donald can, again, dream of these things, but it just turns out not to have ever been true. We have never created greater income for the United States government by lowering taxes. We've never done it. It's never happened. We've tried to lower taxes, and it's never increased the amount of money that's come into the government's coffers. It's never worked. Furthermore, and this goes to Donald's apparent inability to judge who has money and who doesn't. And as an example, he doesn't have any money. Oh, he's got 114 million shares of something that they call an SPAC, Special Purpose Acquisition Company. And I'm not going to describe it for you because it doesn't do anything. It's a company that does nothing. Well, it allows him to post some things online, and that's it. It's him. It's all him. And all they do is lose money. They've got no money. They're in a negative position on everything. Now, apparently they raised through some kind of a borrowing facility. I believe it's $300 million. But they don't have anything to do with it because they don't have any business. DJT, of course, is the company's symbol on the stock exchange. And I'm happy to report to you today, which I've reported it previously, but here on Friday, I'll say that I'm pleased to tell you that Donald lost today about $300 million. Very good. Good work, Donald. That's in response to what he did yesterday. Good afternoon, Ben. So look, here's the deal. He lost $300 million yesterday, and earlier in the week, he lost about $4 billion. I'm sorry, maybe it's closer to $3 billion, and that was on. I believe that was Monday. So, and there were a couple of bounces up and down in between, but it's at the lowest it's been all week. And I can tell you this, the price had gotten as high after he was, having his ears clipped for him. He did have that stock up to $50 a share. But since then, it dropped $15 a share, and it's now down to $35. So that's 15 times 114 million shares. So that gives you a pretty good idea. It's billions. It's billions. Yeah. The guy's just getting killed. That's okay. He doesn't know it. He just, all he knows is that he lost a quarter of his ear. But what he doesn't know is that his stock exchange value is getting wiped out. But it's not down to where I've said yet. So at least maybe that's, something that he can hold on to, because I'm predicting $1 per share and it's still 35. So he's got about $3.5 billion to go before he's completely out of money. So that's Donald's stock portfolio. Then here's a good one. Yeah, he says Iran was broke when he left office, and that Joe Biden enriched Iran so that Iran could support Hamas's war against Israel. There's only one problem. In the first place, Iran wasn't broke. In the second place, the money that we gave him was the amount of money that they actually had frozen. It was their money. And the attempt was to reverse some of the insanity that Donald injected into the international financial markets by messing with Iran in the first place, since what we're trying to do is to prevent Iran from creating nuclear weapons. Michael says Donald probably thinks that it's half of his ear because he's so bad in math. That's true. But I'll also say this, Michael, and I just want to be fair. I'm hoping that Donald's ear remains completely intact, because I want to be sure that when they pronounce sentence on September 18th, that he hears every detail of where he's headed. But we'll wait till September 18th for a final determination on that one. Let's also add in here that the damage that Joe Biden has done throughout the entire economy, everything that involves the United States when it comes to finances and business, that damage has been unthinkable. I don't know. My guess is that he's trying to describe the fact that he's not quite able to always think. Something like that. I don't know what else it could be. Okay. But I will say this, and again, Donald has figured some things out really well. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world when Donald was president. Now, hang on. Think about this for a minute. Let's think about how possible that is to be true. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. I guess that's greater than the enormous 20 years of growth that the United States had after the end of World War II. Might be greater than that. I guess that's what he's thinking. I mean, of course, we know it wasn't greater than that. What's he even talking about? I mean, if he's talking about jobs, we're currently at the lowest jobless rate for the longest period of time that we've ever seen in United States history. And I don't even give Joe Biden credit for it anyway, because actually this has all been headed in the same direction since Barack Obama. I mean, Donald Trump was just in the middle, and he did get some value out of the success that came from Barack Obama. And then you can say that Joe Biden got some additional help from that same momentum, although we do know that jobs in this country tanked during COVID. And then Donald was out of the picture. I mean, I don't know what he thinks he had even to do with any of this. And then, under Joe Biden, there was a strong rebound. Part of it was the result of jobs being restored after COVID was over. But again, there are economists who have done work on this, and I didn't bring it in here. I didn't bring in the exact numbers, but I can tell you this. The economists all say that job growth during the entire 3.5 years of Joe Biden has been greater during that period. It's been greater than it was during the years of Donald Trump, excluding the COVID period. But, all of this doesn't mean anything. It certainly doesn't mean anything to anybody because, as Ben points out here, there was lots of PPP money out there. Yeah, that's true. Money that went to businesses because they were in trouble during COVID. So that got spread around and that helped some people out. But by the way, all of that is excluded from the rebound in jobs that was evaluated by these various economic agencies that wanted to make some comparisons. Again, it doesn't really matter to me because I'll tell you this. If all we were doing is trying to decide whether the economy was better under Biden or Trump, well, I think we could all just go home right now, go to sleep, and forget it because it just wouldn't even be a problem. The problem is that Donald lies about everything, and he is completely unreliable. He's never accomplished anything. And I think I'm going to get to that on my list. But if I don't, let me just say that Donald takes all kinds of credit for what he believes. Not that he's already done it, but what he believes is going to be some kind of an enormous creation of jobs to support infrastructure in the United States. The only problem is Joe Biden already did that, Donald. That was already passed. It was a bipartisan bill, and it's already been passed and signed, and it's being implemented right now. So, yeah, you can claim you're going to do it, but it's already done. Okay. But we have the greatest economy in the history of the world, except for all the other ones. And by the way, this is a quote from Donald. Today, in the United States, people are barely living. I mean, that was his words last night. People are barely living. What the heck does that mean? I mean, the last I checked, I seem to be living, not barely living. I'm living. Now, I came in here a little while ago and got set up, and I saw Joe, who's our phenomenal producer here for this program and for Vic and Lizzie in the morning. And I have to say something. It looked to me like Joe was living. I'll have to hold on. Let me look over there. Yeah, he's living. He's alive. Okay, good. So he isn't barely living. He's living. You know, I haven't seen one person today that's only barely living. Everybody I saw today was living. But that's, Donald explained that last night. And of course, according to Donald, we're suffering from the worst inflation that we've ever had. Well, I'm glad he didn't say the worst inflation in the history of the world, because I could tell you a few that were worse. But here's a good one. Our inflation rate is currently somewhere around 2.5%. Certain numbers even suggest it's a little lower than that. The Federal Reserve wants to see it at 2% on a consistent basis. But if you think the 2.5% is the worst inflation that we've ever had, I don't know. That bullet must have hit something else, because I got to tell you, that's just wrong. I mean, it's flat out wrong. I mean, maybe his head's vibrating or something. But I can tell you clearly, in the 1980s, inflation was far above 2, 3, 4%. It was up there. In fact, it was so far up there, like 10, 11%, because interest rates, long-term treasuries, were 14%, which is normal to have those rates higher than the inflation rate. And they were also pushed up so that the Federal Reserve under Paul Volcker could force those inflation numbers all the way back down, which they did accomplish. In fact, they accomplished it brilliantly, to the effect of 40 years of inflation decline accomplished by the Federal Reserve under Paul Volcker's leadership. And again, that Donald is trying to end the Federal Reserve. That's between pages 731 and 739 in Project 2025, which Donald says he's never heard of before. But, we know that Donald lies, so don't worry about it. And here's a good one. I love this one. This is excellent. 107% of all jobs in the United States are taken by illegal aliens. He's trying to say undocumented workers, but okay, that's his word, so we'll go with his. And here's the problem with that. 107%? Again, I think Donald needs a little help with math. If you have X number of jobs, if they took all the jobs, that would be 100%. That would be everything. I'm not sure where he would get the 107%. But actually, he says 100%. Here's one for you. Greg says that the annual inflation rate in the United States has increased from 3.2% in 2011 to 8.3% in 2022. Okay, so let's back up here now, Greg. Don't be Donald. Come on, let's do this right. That's clearly not true. Because what you're implying is, in the first place, that would be what I said, 2.9% increase from low to increase if you're looking at the mortgage rate. And so this is a 2.9 times increase in what he's saying is the inflation rate. But here's the problem. The inflation rate did peak close to 9%. Briefly, it spiked in 2022. But here's the problem, Greg. You better go check a map to see where you live, or check a calendar to see what the date is, because this is 2024. Wait a second, let me check. Maybe it is 2022. Hang on. No, it's 2024. I was going to say, if it's 2022, you can do something like what we did in Back to the Future, where he had that book. You know, Michael J. Fox had that book that he gave to Biff, who is actually Donald, but that's another story too. But at any rate, that book allowed everybody that had it, of course it was only Biff, if you had it, you could make a fortune by betting on things. So, for example, if it's 2022, we could bet on who was going to win the World Series in 2023, and we'd be wealthy. But at any rate, Michael says, besides, it was 6.5% in 2022, but actually the peak inflation rate was close to 9%. That is true. Second part, Mark. This is coming from Greg. I don't know what that means. And it's just, whatever it is, it's just not even true. I mean, if you're just you're picking 1 month, and that's it. Because that number spiked up, it spiked right back down. And inflation today, because again, I don't know what it says on another website, but this is not 2022. This is 2024. 2024. It's 2 years forward. I mean, get it correct. That's all. I mean, now it is possible that you had like a little job done in your ear too. And I guess if you've got your ear sort of upside down, then you get dizzy and you don't know where you are. And I mean, I'm sorry. It's just 2024. It's just what it is. Okay. And speaking of these jobs, these 107% of the jobs that the illegals are taking from black people, listen to this now. So they're taking all the jobs from black people. All the black jobs are being taken by illegals who come across the border. So who are we talking about here? Are we saying that black people mow lawns and clean floors and they do menial labor? Is that what Donald's saying here? I mean, it must be, because they're not taking any jobs from black CEOs. People that come across the border who have desperately been walking, thousands of miles are not showing up, for example, at American Express. The CEO used to be a black guy there. They're not showing up there and saying, we've been promised all the black jobs, so I'd like to be the CEO of American Express. I mean, I don't know what this guy's even talking about. Neither does he. That's the point. He doesn't know. Okay, and the last point before I move on here, this is a good one. I like this. This is what Donald's promising. Every disaster will be fixed, and will be fixed quickly the moment that he enters the White House. Every disaster will be fixed, and fixed quickly when he walks in the White House. I guess I don't know. Yes, Michael. Michael has sent me a message. He says, look, it's time to go to Wendy's. So I'll do that. Let's go to Wendy's. Let's go there for dinner. And first of all, they've got wings. And everybody loves wings. They've got smoked meats. They've got hamburgers, cheeseburgers, patty melts, pizza, salad. They've got everything at Wendy's. Now, I'm emphasizing the fact here that they've got baby back ribs because I love them. And Ben will be there. That is terrific news. So, Ben will be there. Let's see. Ben agrees that Wendy's is great. And he said, oh, no, I'm sorry. Now I thought it was, no, this is Greg. Greg now says he agrees that Wendy's is great and he loves the French dip. Well, that is excellent, Greg, because that just goes to show that we finally agree on something. Wendy's is great. Okay, so we've got that settled. But I have to ask, he says, Ben says he'll be there right after the show. Well, that's good. That's very good. Says, yeah, and he points out this is something we can all agree on. Listen, I'm getting tremendous support for this, and I like it because Wendy's is great. It's a great place to eat. And coming soon at Wendy's, in fact, I spoke with them today, is we're setting up an opportunity for people to come out and meet and talk with Ray Hartman at Wendy's. And so that's coming very shortly. So you can look forward to that one. Ray had the baby back ribs there recently, and he told me today that he absolutely loved them. Now, you can get the same great food in Defiance. I mean, you don't have to just go over here in Chesterfield. You can go to 2999 South Highway 94. And again, Ben, I've pointed out many times, I'm sure you've heard this, that, there's some people who just like to eat a lot. And if you really love to eat a lot, you might decide, I'm going to eat a little bit in Chesterfield Valley, and then I'm going to head off to Defiance and eat the same great food out there so that people won't realize how enormous the appetite is. But it's all Wendy's. And it's all great food. Check out Ben and the great food at Wendy's. Now, jewelry. You can get great jewelry, and I mean to tell you, they have cases and cases and cases of jewelry at 4506 Hampton, and that's Jewels on Hampton. Al and his son AJ run the business. And it is excellent. You can't beat it, really. You can't. And they've got every kind of jewelry. They design it. They will design things the way you ask. They'll design it their own way if you give them the opportunity to show you some of the things that they can create. It's just a great jewelry store. Now, on top of that, they buy and sell coins and jewelry, so you don't have to just buy. You can sell to them as well, and they offer great prices to the public because they want you to love them. Now, they got to make a profit for sure, but they're fair, very fair, and you're going to go and meet Al, and you'll realize how nice he is. He's just a great person to go meet, and you'll just enjoy going to see the great jewelry and the opportunity to just do business in the jewelry world at Jewels on Hampton. Now, in addition to all of that, you're going to spend some time there and you're going to have to leave eventually. And you look down to your watch and you realize it's broken. So you take it off and you hand it to Al and he'll fix that too, because they are excellent watch repair people. They're professionals. That is Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton. And finally, I can't say any more than you just look at how I dress. I dress nice. I wear a nice suit and a tie. And these ties are $5 ties that you can buy at the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton on the corner of Central and Forsyth. And they've been there for 29 years. Sure, they've always done this tie thing, but they have everything else too. The suits are great. The shirts, very excellent. Great prices. In fact, much lower prices than what you would pay at some of the other clothing stores. And the ties are the shirts are excellent. It doesn't matter. Any clothes you buy there, it's all outstanding. And that's the St. Louis Suit Company. And I've pointed out before, and let's do it again, that if you rush down there and take advantage of the special deals on overcoats, you won't be upset at all, because the prices for those overcoats are also way down. And now's the time to do it. Don't wait until everything's down to 20 degrees outside and then you're freezing and crying and miserable. No, go down there now and get yourself an overcoat, so when the fall weather hits, you'll be ready. That's the St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton. And don't forget, if you're getting married, that's the place to go for wedding attire, because they are just known throughout the St. Louis area for handling wedding attire. It's just the top place in town. So if you want to get married and wear nice clothes, go to the St. Louis Suit Company. Or if you want to look as good as I do, same thing. St. Louis Suit Company. That's the place to go. Okay, so let's see. What other great lies do I have here? Oh yeah, this is good. And I did bring this up earlier, but let me clarify it a little bit. The exact words that Donald used were these words. He said that he's going to redirect the green scam money. I mean, you understand what he's saying. That anything that we put out money for that has to do with greening America, that is improving the climate or making things more healthy with the air that we breathe, or trying to protect the rivers or the oceans. I mean, all of that, greening America, all that money, which is all a scam, because we really don't want to do that. I mean, let's forget that was originally started by Theodore Roosevelt. I understand he was a Republican, but sort of a different Republican that we've got today. But anyway, it's all scam money, according to him. And what he's going to do is he's going to take that scam money and he's going to redirect it to bridges and roads. He didn't say infrastructure. He said bridges and roads. And I guess that's the point. I don't think he understands that Joe Biden raised hundreds of millions of dollars for bridges and roads. That's infrastructure, Donald. Okay, here's a good one. Any car sold in the United States but not built in the United States. I mean, I'm sorry, this is Donald's words last night. We will put 100 to 200% tariffs on those cars. Now, I want you to go back and listen. So let's say that you want to buy a Mercedes that was built in Germany. Now, you might want to buy one that was built here, but let's say you can't get one that was built here right now. So you want to go buy a Mercedes, or you want a Lexus from Japan. And the only one that's available is a Lexus from Japan. Well, here's what the deal is. Let's say that the car is a $50,000 car, and they're probably more than that. So he's going to slap 100% tariff on the car, or even 200%, according to Donald. Come on. Use your head. He's not going to do it. He can't do it. Nobody's going to buy the cars. I understand that's his point, is that he's going to make it so you can't buy the cars and you're forced to buy what? A Chevy? Come on, use your heads. This is not going to happen. He's just talking. And he did talk for 93 minutes, and that was an all-time record for an acceptance speech for a convention, for a political party convention in the United States. 93 minutes. You know he's got a screw loose. You understand that, right? Okay. How about this one? Donald says he's currently leading in Nevada by 14%. That's just not true. I mean, you know that. It's just not true. It's just made up. It's just a number. It's not true. Okay, the rest of it I've already talked about. He's going to cure cancer and Alzheimer's as soon as he gets into the Oval Office. That's good. I already said that earlier, but I just thought I'd bring that up again because this man is just incredible. He's great. I mean, you talk about becoming great again. He's going to make this country great again. And well, not even great again. Greater than it's ever been. Let's see. This is, I think this is this Lizzie talking to me over here? Oh, this is you. Oh, you see, and you're trying to give Lizzie a bad name. Okay, I'm not even going to bring it up. Let's leave that one alone. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I guess maybe the point is that because his ear was chopped off, he was able to speak longer because it didn't cause him any problems. I don't know. I'm not sure what that meant, but that's all right. We take on all comers. That's for sure. So let's get a few other things clear here. I'm only laughing because it's just so stupid. Hundreds of thousands of people, Americans, listen to this. I mean, of course I'm laughing. Of course I can barely get this out of my mouth. I don't know how he got it out of his mouth. I got these notes written all over the place. Just brilliant things that he has said. He's incredibly good, I'll tell you. Hundreds of thousands of people are dying at the border. Now, here's a good question for Michael. So Michael is in Arizona. So you're close to the border, Michael. So I just want to know, how difficult is it when you're driving around Arizona to navigate around all the dead bodies of Americans that are lying in the street because people are coming across the border and killing hundreds of thousands of people? I'd like to know the answer. You know, the way it sounds, it's sort of like when you're driving in St. Charles and you hit a deer. You got to be really careful because those deer can come darting out. But in this case, it's, oh, wait a second. Michael says he hasn't seen any dead bodies. Oh, but I'm sorry, Michael. You forgot to tell us. You had glasses and you broke them? Is that it? Is that why you haven't seen? No glasses? Okay. Well, Michael says there are no dead bodies in Arizona. I don't know. Donald said last night there are hundreds of thousands of dead bodies down by the border. I don't know. They must be somewhere. That could be my job for next week. I will try to find out where all those dead bodies have gone. Because they're there. I mean, former president of the United States wouldn't lie. Okay, people are coming out of prisons and jails and insane asylums. And these are the people from Central America. And they're bringing disease, drugs, misery, crime, and destruction. That's good. I wonder who wrote that for him. Really, it's too lyrical to be Donald. But on the other hand, he read it quite well. None of it was true, of course. Those people aren't coming out of prisons and jails and insane asylums, and they're not bringing disease, maybe some drugs. Well, sure, people use drugs. I don't know why, but they do. They're bringing misery with them, and crime, and destruction. Of course, again, if you go to my website, which is at talkstl.net, you can go to the reading room, scroll down. There's a great university article on immigrants. First of all, they commit fewer crimes than anybody anywhere in the United States. Immigrants don't commit many crimes, not many at all. Or if they do, they might be like, they got a driver's license, which they're really not allowed to have because they're here undocumented. So they, in theory, couldn't get a driver's license. We know they're not voting because the secretaries of state all through those areas say that their elections have been clean as a whistle. There's just no problem in our election system whatsoever. There's if there's any fraud, it is like tiny. Like maybe somebody filled out a ballot and they made a mistake. Yeah, that kind of thing. No, there's no fraud. Essentially no fraud. Almost none. Close to none. I will say that there might be 1 or 2 or 3 ballots that were fraudulent. Maybe. But that's it. Very, very little. But in any case, they're bringing disease, drugs, misery, crime, and destruction. See, somebody wrote that. That's good stuff. I like it. Okay, so that's about it for Donald's great speech last night. Really, you got to give him credit. He really keeps people working. And the funny thing is I didn't even look any of this stuff up. This is just any person with any sense could figure these things out. If there are any dead bodies lying all over the southern border, I have to tell you, we'd probably see them on TV tonight. We'd probably see them piled up. They're not there. Come on. They're just not there. There are no dead bodies down there. You want to go look for them? Go ahead. In fact, when I get off the air here, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will give Carl Officer over in East St. Louis a call. He owns a mortuary over there. And I'll tell him that if he rushes down to the border, he can get his hands on a whole bunch of bodies that he can bury, and maybe he can get the United States government to pay him some kind of a discount rate to bury all those dead bodies. But I have a feeling that being a smart businessman, Carl will say, Kaysen, there aren't any bodies down at the border. I think I'm going to stay in East St. Louis and just deal with the normal attrition in the population. I don't understand it. Why would you say all those things? And then after all of it, where do you get Hannibal Lecter? Honestly, we've got 5 minutes left, 314-471-1968. If you want to call me and explain to me what this Hannibal Lecter business is, I would love to hear it. I know that Donald has a fascination with boats and their electrical systems. That's something. He didn't bring that up last night. Good work. Excellent, Donald. You left that out. Now I think he left out the Sharks too. I don't want to say that for sure. Somebody did say today that he brought up the Sharks. I didn't hear it. So I'm going to give him credit for no Sharks. Although most of the time he is doing Sharks and electrocutions because of batteries, electric batteries on boats. Yeah, I'm not sure about all that. But I am sure of this, that there are no piles of dead bodies at the border. None. And with that in mind, I want to also mention that, as I've pointed out for 3 weeks, it appears that we're closer and closer to Kamala Harris being the next Democratic Party nominee for president of the United States. And I love Joe Biden, and almost everybody that's asking him to step down says the same thing, that they love him, that they respect him, that they think we should honor him, that he has done an incredible job over 3.5 years. He has saved the United States and the world from the Russians. True, he saved Ukraine, and that's good, but it's more than Ukraine, it's all of us. Everybody benefits from this. And he increased the size of NATO from 30 to 32 countries. And no, NATO will never attack the Russians. Just because we wake up in the morning and think, let's just go try it sometime. It's just not what we're interested in at all. This is a defensive alliance to protect the world and to prevent World War III. And so far, they've done an excellent job of protecting the world and preventing World War III. They haven't stopped everybody from hurting anybody, but on the other hand, they have held back World War III. Good work. We needed to do that. In the meantime, Donald would like to shut it down. He hates the United Nations. He hates collective security. What's with this man? Where did he go to school? I'm not talking about college. Where did he go to high school? Didn't anybody tell him anything about what happened in Europe during World War II, what Hitler did when we turned over Czechoslovakia to him? He said, just give me the Sudetenlands and I'll never bother anybody. And shortly thereafter, Hitler, now I'm not talking about Donald this time, I'm talking about the original Hitler, not the American Hitler. Hitler immediately went in and started taking over territory. He took over Poland, he took over France, tried to take Great Britain, killed a lot of people. Is this really what Donald wants? And the answer that I give is, yeah, it is what he wants, because he's been instructed by Vladimir Putin. And I don't know what Putin's got on him, but I know there are 144 illegal meetings between Donald's people and the Russians. I know it because it's in the Mueller report. And I also know that they were high-fiving in the Oval Office with pictures taken by Russian journalists because American journalists were kept out of that meeting. They were high-fiving about something, and we know that the documents were turned over that were illegally turned over. I mean, all of it's bad. But guess what? There's a great weekend coming. Get yourself to Wendy's. Enjoy the food. St. Louis Suit Company, Jules on Hampton. This is Showdown. I'm Mark Kaysen.